we're just going to chat with ourselves here for a minute, give everybody a chance to log on and get connected because I did not plan ahead well enough to schedule this. Uh, Reason being, well, it's probably just because I didn't plan ahead well enough. But on top of that, it's Labor Day weekend. There's things going on, stuff going on with my kids, what have you. And so I wasn't sure exactly when we were going to do this. We're also dealing with weather stuff and everything else. We'll talk about some of that in a bit when people are actually logged on here. But, for now, I'm your host, Robert Witham. I've been doing this channel for 7 years now, something like that. I'm a long-time lifestyle traveler. I've written a number of books, working on another one right now that hopefully will be done very soon. I'm publishing travel-related videos on YouTube for 7 years or so. Published a travel photography magazine. I have an online course for new and aspiring nomads. So enough about me anyways. If you're new to the thing, you're wondering who the heck is this guy, that's me. I'm just a guy who likes traveling and I make content about it. This is my much better half, Melanie. She's been traveling for a while as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when I see some people logging on, that's awesome. That's always every creator's greatest fear when you start a live stream. It's like, hopefully somebody is on. Hold on a second. I have to talk to Melanie. So I got to fix a curtain here
Oh,
because it's windy.
it is very windy here. Very hot, very windy, very typically Wyoming.
We are definitely in Wyoming. Whew, okay. Hopefully that'll fix it. I had the curtain blowing in front of the camera there. It was fine when I was testing everything before we actually started for real. Hey, Curtis, hello. How you doing? Yeah, Michael, waving hands, still in North Georgia. North Georgia sounds warm and muggy. Uh, well, we're talking today about all things life related to the traveling lifestyle, including the death of picnicking. That's the hot topic I've been thinking about recently. You can see she doesn't necessarily agree with me 100% on this topic, so you all get to weigh in too. But before we drive in any further, we're going to do some travel news stories. We'll talk about the death of picnicking, some recent traveling that Melanie and I did, a big adventure, and yeah, that's all coming right up. Before we dive into all that, I'm on Patreon. If you can check me out there at patreon.com/RobertWitham. You can join for little as $1 a month, and I put a ton of photos and behind-the-scenes stories and stuff that doesn't go on YouTube or to the rest of the World Wide Web. It goes on Patreon. So if you want to know more or sooner or whatever else like that, check it out there. It's as little as $1 a month. So cheap as I can make it there. We'll get some fun travel news. People are starting to log on here. It is Labor Day weekend. Hope you all have some fun plans. Maybe some with family or friends or whatever. We're hunkered down in Wyoming still. We have only recently back, but we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about some travel we've been doing. There's some news stories that might be interesting. Some of you may or may not have seen. This one, let's see. If I'm not mistaken, Curtis might have sent me this one. From Compendium, actually, upcoming dispersed camping changes you should know about for 2022. You've heard me mention some of these things before. I've seen some of these. There's also some new ones in this list I had not seen, but it's definitely of interest to anybody who likes traveling and boondocking or dispersed camping. Subtitle in this article by Sarah Sheehy: increased interest in boondocking and dispersed camping led to new rules on some public lands. And then it opens up with it. As interest in dispersed camping on public lands has increased, recreation managers are struggling to keep up with skyrocketing demand and subsequent impacts on natural resources, safety, and enforcement. So they go through and mention several places, in many cases, well-known places around the U.S., particularly here in the West, where big changes are coming or may be coming. The first one's in Crested Butte, Colorado, where it affects the Grand Mesa, I can't even ever say this, Uncompahgre, and Gunnison National Forests. Basically, the new management order requires campers to stay in designated campsites in several popular drainage areas, they're calling them. And it's one of the interesting things traveling around is you get to different areas. We have different terms for the same geographical features, which can be a little confusing if you're not from that area. But apparently this was specifically issues or affects Kebler Pass, Lake Irwin, Slate River, Washington Gulch, Schofield Pass, Brush Creek, Cement Creek, and Gothic Corridor. I don't think I've camped in this area. If I do, I don't remember. But anyways, this is a kind of a big one from the Crested Butte, Colorado area. And I have camped around Grand Mesa, so I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of places where you're going to have to stay in designated campsites now if you're trying to disperse camp around there. Moab, Utah, they issued a new final supplementary rule this spring that addresses camping in the Klondike Bluffs mountain bike focus area and a nearby 160-acre parcel. And if you've camped in Moab at all, you know it's crowded. Melanie was just telling me the other day she has not had the experience.
I've never gone. Almost went last year.
Almost,
but
yeah.
You know, there were some news stories coming up there.
Oh,
people
yeah.
disappearing or not.
Yeah. About that.
So I'm like, okay, not going. Sorry.
Yeah. I've camped there several times. The first time I was there was actually with Curtis and Bob Wells and Deborah Dickinson.
Yeah.
And we did have a good time. Aside from the first day, we got there. Curtis and I arrived there first. It was in the 80s and the wind was blowing like crazy, so we had a dust storm. That was not so pleasant of an introduction to Moab. But if you ever camp there, it's hard to find camping. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you're trying to stay where you don't need a 4x4 and you want a cell signal, for example, it can be tough. But anyways, there's some new restrictions in the Klondike Bluffs mountain bike focus area and a nearby 160-acre parcel, where in those areas campers are now required to use designated campsites and bring portable toilets if there are not toilets provided already. And campers are also prohibited from cutting or collecting firewood for any reason. Sedona, Arizona. There have been several sets of restrictions around Sedona. And I will hop by. I see some comments coming. I will hop back to the comments in just a minute as soon as I finish this list from Campendium. So before we go to other news stories, I'll hop back and check everyone's comments. So from Sedona, Arizona's Red Rock Ranger District. Have you been there?
No, that's another one.
I'm starting to think she doesn't like red rocks. What do you all think? I mean, Sedona is amazing. I went to Sedona my first year out, first spring out. I was there in May. It was in the 90s. It was brutal. I didn't stay as long as I would have liked, but the scenery is amazing. I have been back to camp there. My first tarantula ever I saw in Sedona.
Oh, nice.
It was on the door of my cargo trailer. I about had a heart attack because the door was open. I looked up from inside and there's a tarantula on the door. So yeah, it got my attention. But and then I think Curtis may have seen some others that fall when we were there. So I've camped there several times. Lovely scenery, but it had gotten so crowded that I basically quit going back.
That's why I didn't go.
And there have been closures since I was there, and now there's apparently some more. So yeah, it is crowded. But, anyways, apparently the reason for these new restrictions are due to a marked increase in, recreational use, including issues such as elevated noise levels, unattended campfires, and conflicts with local landowners. And that's one that, they don't dive into it deep here, but this is one that comes up a lot, especially when I've seen more than once. There are areas where it's historically public land and some private land nearby starts getting affluent buildings, constructions, new houses being built. Next thing you know, there's conflict between these people who built these new houses and recreational public land users, and guess who wins when there are complaints to the rangers? It's usually the local taxpayers, not the public land users. So just something for us all to be aware of, to really be careful around in situations like that we're behaving well, because things like this happen. Conflicts with local landowners, they start complaining, and next thing you know, stuff's getting shut down. But as a result, anyways, the Red Rock Ranger District will be closing more than 32,000 acres to camping while delineating 8 designated dispersed camping areas. That's along Forest Roads 525, where I've camped, 9559, 9570A, and 89B. And those areas will provide approximately 200 first-come, first-served designated dispersed campsites. So that's going to be a big restriction, I think, from what's there previously. And there already was restricted. There have been closures over in Cottonwood and stuff, so which is just like the next town over from Sedona, where there's a Walmart and stuff. So It's kind of a thing. Anyways, moved down to Colorado, White River National Forest. Their Dillon Ranger District announced in late July that it will be limiting all camping outside of a campground to designated dispersed campsites only. And then up here in Wyoming, out of Sheridan, the Bighorn National Forest in Wyoming, which actually isn't in any city, but Sheridan and Buffalo are east of it, and then some little towns like Grayville and Tent Sleep are west of it. The Bighorn National Forest is requesting public input during 6 dispersed camping forums taking place in August and September. This is a process that they started like in 2019, and everything got slowed down for reasons I won't mention on YouTube or we'll get shadow banned. But during the forums, forest managers are soliciting feedback on a proposal to limit camping to a 14-day stay limit year-round. You guys may have seen some other places like this where you can only get 5 or 10 or 14 days in a year. They're looking at implementing that in the Bighorns, and also to implementing a consistent approach to scenic byway camping management. I'm not even sure what exactly that means, except for we were up there recently. There's a whole bunch of new restrictions that we've seen this summer that were not there in the past. It's also considering a sticker program to authorize dispersed camping and transitioning the forest to the use of designated dispersed campsites once again. So we were up there and saw a lot of places where camping was closed or restricted, or you could only camp in certain areas between, well, you were not allowed to camp there between like the 1st of June and September 10th or something, which at 9,000 feet in the Bighorns is the only time you're going to be up there without a snowmobile, okay?
Right.
That's like...
There was snow when we went.
There was snow when we were up there in the middle of the summer, yeah, exactly. So basically they've shut it down except for to like some maybe hunting camps or something. They've all but shut it down. And so there's a whole bunch of new restrictions they're looking at there. So including things like sticker programs and big restrictions. The frustrating thing to me is that the number one problem in the Bighorns, because my summer base is nearby. We're just a couple hours, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending where in the Bighorns you want to go. The big problem in the Bighorns is not this kind of stuff. The big problem in the Bighorns is that people who live in Wyoming or nearby in Montana bring their travel trailers up there and their fifth wheels and drop them off for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time and go back one weekend to use them, even though that's not allowed. The rangers don't do anything about it. Every time you go up there during the week, there's all kinds of abandoned camps where people have left their trailers. That's why there's a shortage of camping in the Bighorns. It's not because people like me or Melanie or like any of you are overusing it and abusing it. It's just, it's being abused. In this case, I'm not saying it's always like this, but in the Bighorns, the problem is not travelers. The Bighorns are not famous like Jackson Hole and the Grand Tetons and some other things like that. They're just not as famous. So, or even the Black Hills in South Dakota going the other direction. So a lot of that problem in the Bighorns is from local people breaking the rules, dropping trailers off for weeks at a time. So as is typical, we've all seen this, whether at jobs or in school or whatever. It's a grade school stunt. You punish everybody, right? Somebody messes up, you punish everybody. So instead of dealing with the people who are abusing the forest there, they penalize everybody. And I'm sure there's some of that with the other closures too, where instead of dealing with the people who are abusing things, everybody gets penalized. You got any input here?
I just thought it was...
Sometimes she has a different opinion than I do.
Well, I know, I agree that there's a lot of changes or whatever, but you know, I'm a little more familiar with back east, and back there they actually do have only designated sites. There's trees everywhere else, so you can't camp anywhere. So this idea of camping all over was really new for me when I came out here. And so they're kind of going to that format like they have back east, but there's
not that big of a change for you.
Land out here, and so to do it is a lot more widespread and impacts a lot more people. So yeah,
I think it's probably a kind of an issue of that it is a change, and people are used to being able to park just about anywhere, for sure anywhere that somebody has camped before.
Yeah, that was way different when I came out here.
So to start seeing changes like that is like, well,
right.
And I don't have too much of a problem with it personally if they're not massively restricting camping at the same time. So if they're saying, okay, you got to camp in designated spots, we're going to put numbers up where they are or whatever, but there still are lots of them, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Because I usually try, I always try and park where it's obvious someone has
Right.
spent time before.
Yeah,
Anyways, I'm not
fire
driving
range or
through the
something.
prairie
Right.
or through the forest where
Right.
nobody's ever driven before.
Right.
Anyway, so
Right.
um, partly out of concern, but I don't want to mess it up for people who come behind me, but I also don't want to get stuck or something. So it's just a practical matter. I don't drive where people aren't already driving. So that's an interesting point, though. It's
Yeah.
kind of like a related one. It's totally unrelated in some ways. We were talking recently about driving along at 65, and that feels plenty fast to me, and it feels plenty fast to Melanie. We learned to drive back in the 80s when the speed limit was 55. I remember when they raised it in select areas to 65, and I'd go from Western Mass up to upstate New York to visit my grandparents. And there was a little section of the New York Thruway where I could drive like 65, and that was really exciting. So now I move out west, and the speed limit is 70, 75, 80 in a lot of places. I'm like, that is like crazy fast. So I'm still puttering along the 65,
Yeah.
even though the speed limit is 80, because it's just what I'm used to. So.
Well, and you use more gas if you go
And
fast.
there's safety issues, and yeah, definitely a gas factor.
Yeah.
You start moving beyond that, you're definitely going to
Any
spend
vehicle, I
for
think, just
fuel.
not
I got to check in
petrol.
on some comments here real quick, because, okay, let's see. Whoops, I just bumped the microphone. Oh, and Curtis said, yeah, we found a great spot there in Moab. We did. We found some great spots when we were just out exploring, too. Hey, hello, that's too bad. Yeah, I hate seeing restrictions, and especially when it's not a total problem, where it's like a limited problem that I think could be addressed without just closing a bunch of stuff down for everybody. I guess that's what gets me. It's like, okay, if there's people breaking the rules, initiate contact. And give them a warning or a citation or whatever you got to do, but don't penalize everybody that is obeying the rules and just trying to be responsible and enjoy nature and stuff. Midnight Run, Kennel, Beth, no longer in North Carolina, back in Mississippi. Hopefully, we'll be back in North Dakota by October. Boy, Mississippi's got to be warm and toasty right now. We're going to get to heat in a minute, and you probably can tell us some things about heat. I'm guessing, Beth, if you're in Mississippi right now. Curtis saying cheap storage. That might be part of it. Huh? Park your trailer out in the forest. You don't have to worry about
right.
paying storage for it or
Right,
anything.
that's true. I hadn't thought
Sunny,
about that.
hello. Greg, it's a process that is increasing in rate with increasing population of wealthy landowners. Yeah, I've seen it in several places. Flagstaff, I've seen it. Sedona, I've seen it. A few other places, but it does seem like Colorado. Some of the affluent areas in Colorado where you used to be able to disperse camp, and now you go and there's signs everywhere, and there's boulders blocking off roads, and it's like, okay, guess I won't be camping here, and it followed, an affluent housing development going in, and I don't always know what led up to it. Maybe there were legitimate conflicts. I don't know. I mean, because I don't live in those places. I'm just traveling, and I go through a place and it's great, and I come back a year or two later and it's like, whoa, what the heck happened? So, let's see. Beth is in, I remember 55 up in New Hampshire. We averaged 37 because of the winding, twisting roads with the shoulder. Yeah, you know.
Winding, twisting roads.
Anytime
yeah,
I go
can't
back home to visit in upstate New
fast.
York, it's the same kind of way with the roads. Or Vermont, we go over there, Massachusetts, my parents live down there. Oh man, I'm just like claustrophobic and freaking out because you can't see you at all these hills and the curves and the trees, and I mean we'll be riding along, old jokes. I wonder how many miles away that is, and it might be 3 or 5 or 8 miles, something we're seeing in the distance, and it's a straight line. It's like the autopilot's not a big feature out here. Put your cruise control on, and your car just drives by itself for miles on end.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you got to like tweak the steering
Yeah,
wheel
yeah.
a little bit to navigate a slight turn, but.
I like when the GPS come along. They say, "Oh yeah, slight curve, and 0.2 miles," and you're just like, "Okay."
Let's see. Beth saying Mississippi is humid and soggy. Keeps raining up north where I am, south of Memphis. I've only been through Mississippi a couple times, and I happened to be along the Gulf Coast when I did, so it was actually pretty nice. And it was, even when I was there, it was in the summer. It was the ocean breeze and the sand beach. We managed to plan it. We went through once in the summer, and there was like some big car show or something going on in Biloxi, And so we were like a
okay.
ways west of there, and we stopped at this white sand beach, and there was nobody there. I mean, we got to wade out into the water and everything. There was nobody
Nice.
around. It was crazy. And then I went through a year and a half ago now, in going out to New York. Helped my grandfather was ill, and it was a big snowstorm in the northeast and the central U.S. So I had to take 10 across to Jacksonville and then go up so that I gave him time to get the roads cleared up. And I was staying in warm weather as long as I could. And I stopped and worked on white sand beaches in Mississippi a couple days while I was going through. I'm throwing my papers around. Thank you. So in the van, anyways, that was fun. Let's see. Leslie's greetings. Greetings, Arthur. Thanks for joining. Hope everybody's having a positive Labor Day weekend here. Victoria's asking what happened to your news broadcast. Well, we got some in here today, some news stories, and basically the bottom line is that they don't get watched a lot. So what I'm trying to do is I'm experimenting with different ideas, including do like maybe like a weekly live stream where I cover the news stuff, and then I can republish them like excerpts as standalones for people who don't want to watch the whole live, but that might make it a little easier. Anyway, bottom line is that's been a lot of work to research stuff and make up notes and record it and publish it, and they just don't get a lot of traffic most of the time, except for certain true crime ones, which really got a lot of traffic. They weren't really a genre I care for doing. So, all right. So that was Compendium. Money-wise, let's see. Here we go. A story from MoneyWise. It was actually on Yahoo News, but it's originally on MoneyWise. 3.8, per the Census Bureau, 3.8 million renters will likely be evicted in the next 2 months. So, why am I talking about this? Only because every time there's a big surge in foreclosures and evictions, it has a definite impact on homeless populations in cities and other communities, but it also has an impact on the number of people who are living in vehicles as nomads and on public lands and stuff. So, according to this article, for the first time ever, the median rent, this is from August 28th, so it's pretty fresh. For the first time ever, the median rent in the U.S. topped $2,000 a month in June. Some of you know exactly what they're talking about. I hear from people who are paying just astronomical sums of money for rent. The most I ever paid for rent ever, I think, was $600 a month, and I thought that was ridiculous. And I've been living in a car and van and trailers for quite some time now, but that was part of the factor. The other factor, I just don't like being home. I want to be traveling, but when I am home, I don't want to be paying a lion's share of my income for rent. So, especially for a place I don't want to be. So, it's up over $2,000 a month for median rent. Let's see. So that means households representing a total of 8.5 million people were behind on their rent at the end of August, and 3.8 million of those renters say they're somewhat or very likely to be evicted in the next 2 months. That is per the renters. So we don't, I mean, their information could be pessimistic. Maybe there aren't 3.8 million people who are truly at risk, or maybe there's more than that at risk and some of them lowballed. I don't know. This is a assessment of renters, so the accuracy may vary. But in the article, they note that the combination of soaring inflation, the end of most eviction moratoriums and rental assistance payments, and the low vacancy rate has put rents up and many renters out. So anyways, then they go on to say rents are up nearly 25% since before the pandemic. So obviously, if anybody's tight on the budget to start with and rents are up 25%, that's the biggest cost for most people is rent, housing costs.
Right.
That's a
So
problem.
25%
And then everything else is up these days. So
Right.
it'll be interesting to see if this actually comes to fruition. I have no idea if it will or not. But if it does, if we have another 3 or 4 million people evicted in the next couple months, coming into winter, no less,
Yeah.
I think we could see more people. That could push more people into what we broadly call the nomadic lifestyle or something. Let me know what you all think, because this is just my observations. I don't know what you think. I mean,
Yeah, no, I do wonder. Well, I did see that, and it seems like 3.8 million. That's a lot of people, but I do have to question, like, at any time, how many people are at the risk of being evicted. So I don't
that's
know.
a
if
good,
that's-
interesting question. What's the normal baseline?
What's the normal baseline?
If we went back 5 years, what's the baseline for
Right.
people at risk of being evicted?
Right.
That's a good point. What do you guys think? Anybody know anything about that? Because I had not thought about that. But the baseline is not zero.
So, yeah.
It may be elevated,
Yeah.
but the baseline is not zero.
Yeah.
There's always people behind on their rent and a risk
And,
of
and just
eviction.
because they're evicted doesn't mean they become homeless. They might move in with somebody else or whatever.
Right, right.
But I can see things changing, definitely. I mean, because at $2,000 a month, I mean, you're not,
Yeah.
you know, that's a pretty good chunk of change, like you said, and
Well,
you know, you got to find something different.
Yeah, we've talked before. Like my last time I was in Sticks and Bricks, I was working full time plus in an office job, 5-6 days a week, all day, every day. And then every day off and every evening, I was doing freelance work, just trying to make ends meet to pay the bills,
Yep.
to make sure I had enough to go around every month.
Yep.
And I was not living high on the hog.
No.
I mean,
I've worked
that was
different
renting
jobs
pretty
just
much
to
the
pay
cheapest
for
place I could find.
everything I needed to pay for.
You've
yeah.
had similar experiences.
So, yeah, and yeah.
And you start talking 2,000 a month. I can't even fathom that for a median. I mean,
Yeah.
I just, can't imagine. So,
Yeah.
let's see what I'm missing in comments here. Let's see. Beth said, I missed the news shorts. I have thought about doing that, and Melanie has encouraged me to do that. So that may be something we can bring back.
The
The news shorts.
Just a, yeah.
What would happen is it may be partly my problem. I'm researching stuff every day, which sometimes can be depressing because you spend way too much time in the news then, right? We all know that. So I'm researching stuff, I'm saving things, I come back to it and read stuff over, maybe check a couple different articles to make sure I get my facts as accurate as I can realistically without being on the ground somewhere, you know. Make up some notes, record something, edit to fix all my flubs, which of course, like doing it live right now, I can't do. I just got to keep going and correct myself. But I feel like I have to correct it if I'm a pre-recorded video, then upload it. It just ends up taking an awful lot of time. Maybe shorts would be something that could be fun. So
Try it.
we will take that under advisement.
Yeah.
she just said we're going to try it. So
No, we could
y'all,
try it.
she just
That's what I
committed me. She just committed me. So.
Okay.
All right. Oh man. All right. Curtis is saying a lot more car campers out here these days. You know, I have definitely seen a lot more too, Curtis. In last year or two, seems like every year I'm seeing more and more of that. Of course, Melanie here was a car camper.
Yeah, well, we just
did the
saw
Prius thing.
in our recent travels. You know, there was a lot of different car campers and
Yeah.
some vans too.
Yeah.
But,
We can. Let's talk.
yeah.
Make yourself a note if you don't
Sorry.
mind. No, it's okay. Make yourself a note. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
We'll come back to that. Yeah, but I've definitely been seeing more. Oh, it seems like every year. And I know when I started, it's like 8 years ago. I mean, I used to travel as a part-time nomad my whole life, and I did it almost always in a car. A couple times in a minivan or something, but almost always in a car. When I started full-time, like, I think it was 8 years this Christmas, right after Christmas. So a couple months from 8 years now, I started in Toyota Camry. And at the time I was on the road, I also was in a Toyota Echo at some point. A few different vehicles. But when I started in the Camry, it was unusual. And I remember even talking to Bob Wells, who I met back around that time frame. And he was like, I don't want to say shocked, but kind of like a little bit like startled, because most people were you could buy cheap vans still, cheap cargo vans still. My problem was I still had a payment on it. I was upside down. I couldn't get rid of it right away, and I wanted to get on the road, so I just did it with what I had. But it was not very common 8 years ago. Unless it was like you see somebody's like truly down on their luck, homeless type thing. But as far as people voluntarily car camping, it wasn't very common. I was doing it voluntarily, but it wasn't nearly as common then, in my experience.
Yeah,
You've
I
had
don't
some
think
weird
so.
experiences with like the
Well,
sheriffs checking you out and stuff.
Yeah,
And,
it's funny because I had traveled, of course, in a truck camper for a little while too, and there was a difference when I first started out in a car. You'd have more people who would feel, I don't know, they'd just come up and they'd look in, or they would, you know, if I accidentally left my lights on, which when you have a Prius, if you turn on your engine, your lights kind of come on unless you manually take them off. And so I'd have everybody telling me, oh, your lights are on, you're going to run down your battery. I'm like, no, it's a hybrid. You know, they didn't understand the hybrid back then anyway. So,
he was an early adopter, pioneer.
but, you know, I'd be in the back seat typing away working, and they would, you know, always kind of peek around like, what is she doing? You know, so I did, when I first started, I did put my curtains up, or I didn't put my curtains up because I thought, okay, here I am, you know, I'm not doing drugs or whatever. You know, I'm just like working. But then it got to the point where I had so many people that would come around peek in. I'd just like, okay, I'm just leaving my curtains up because I need to work. I don't need the distractions.
I have had people, like when I was in a car or a minivan, literally stop and ask me if I was homeless or something. Because I'm working on a laptop
really?
at a city park, right? Now they don't stop and ask anymore. Now that I have a white cargo van, now they call the cops on me. And I never get pulled over for speeding. I never have any legitimate trouble with the police officers. However, I've had many times the cops show up because somebody called about the strange old white guy, the guy with the beard and the long hair and everything in the white van, white cargo van.
Well, you said your cousin the other day related that story. Where
My cousin was
has a
telling
white
us that.
van.
I got a cousin who's younger. He's like the same as my kids, and he's a incredibly talented woodworker. He's not on social media. You can't find him, or I would share his info with you. Incredibly talented out in Massachusetts, and he's got a 2005, same year as my van, 2005 cargo van. This is a Chevy instead of a Ford, and it's got all the Massachusetts rust on it. Other than that, basically the same van. You know, white 1-ton cargo van. You know, he takes his son, who's like 8, hiking. And they park in a trailhead and hike off into the woods, and he gets a phone call from a number he doesn't recognize, and the number keeps calling him back, and he finally answers, and it's somebody from the local police department who fortunately knew how to get a hold of him. We had a report about your van. Somebody had called and accused him of like abducting a child because he was taking his son hiking in a cargo van. I mean, can you believe this? So I've got to say, this whole if you see something, say something thing is getting out of hand. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody for crying out loud.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, I still haven't caught up on. Okay, Texas lady, hello, good to see you both. Hello, and thanks for joining. I see Greg saying, so after the West is shut down, will the next space be the water? Yeah, there you go.
Well,
That'll all be on houseboats and we're shutting down the water, I guess, right? Yeah. Yep. Arthur Leslie say not just renters, many lose in their homes due to jobs disappearing too. I heard something about that a while ago. I have not heard as much lately, but I've honestly been trying to scale back a little on the news because it's every time I read the news or check Facebook or anything like this, I come away way long. I get on for 30 seconds, and 30 minutes later, I'm going, why did I do this? I do not feel better. I'm not a happier person. I am not more edified.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm not surprised, unfortunately, with interest rates going up and you know, things being like they are all around, and inflation and everything else. It's insane. So, so somebody said dangerous to man. Say doesn't like shorts. You put up a short fit. I know those are super. We were just talking yesterday or the day before about it is one of those. I almost would like to have a separate channel shorts, just because I know it's kind of like a. I'm not the biggest fan myself but YouTube rolled them out and is pushing them hard, so it's kind of like, as a creator, it's hard not to get in line with what the platform's doing. But like Instagram, it was a photo app. I basically quit using it. I loved it when it was a photo app. I'm a photographer. I loved sharing photos. I love seeing photos. And now they're like, the only thing they promote is Reels, which, you know. So, anyways, it is a balance trying to figure out how to stay true to what you want to do and still play the games that the platforms introduce. Beth saying, too many nosy people jumping to conclusions, wrong conclusions. That is it. And the times like I've been interacting with law enforcement, I mean, I'm a middle class guy with good manners. My parents raised me right, so I have no problem interacting politely and respectfully with law enforcement. They check me out. I don't have any warrants or anything. They figure out I'm a responsible, respectable citizen just doing my thing. They're on their merry way. That doesn't always end that well. You know, that doesn't always end that well. So, oh, and Beth is saying, yeah, she didn't mean YouTube shorts. So maybe just short videos. Okay. All right, we got it now. You all are being heard. I promise. I do listen to feedback. Sometimes I get like 50-50 feedback and it's not sure what to do, but I do listen to feedback from everybody, and I try to answer as many comments as I can, but I read all of them. I try to answer as many emails as I can, but I read all of them. I mean, I really do pay attention to stuff, and Melanie helps me keep an eye on stuff.
A little bit,
points things
yeah.
out. She's Melanie's not quite an outer here or anything, but she's not quite the most. She's not a digital junkie. She may be a digital nomad.
I'd say
but
social
she's-
media savvy and how all this works. So I'm still, yeah.
So she does not spend hours and hours online. So, all right. Okay, a couple more news stories. We keep getting distracted here, but that's all right. It's Labor Day. We're just having a chat, right? It's like a campfire chat, but if you're here in Wyoming at least, and probably a lot of other places, it's too hot for a campfire. But speaking of heat, this is kind of amusing. Death Valley sets a new September heat record. Now, you were down there not too far from Death Valley
Yes.
in April,
Yes.
and it was getting a little
And it was
toasty
way
for your
too
liking.
hot. Yeah.
I was there in May once when a Sidewinder started coming out and wanted to take over my camp.
Oh.
The rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I was having
snakes
van
out.
trouble at the time, and my mechanic was coming over to work on replacing the fuel pump, and he wanted me to turn the van around so he'd have shade. So the side of the van with the tank on it was the north. I turned the van around, and turns out there was a Sidewinder sleeping in the shade under the van. So then I had to chase it out of the camp. And then while the mechanic was under the van, a mobile mechanic, while he's under the van dropping the fuel tank and replacing the fuel pump, I was doing snake duty, guarding against the snake, making sure it didn't come back. Because it did come back one other time before the mechanic got there. So, but yeah, I'll have to share some photos sometimes. I don't have the app running that I can share photos, but I got photos of that van from that May when I had it wrapped in space blankets and a vinyl. The windshield was wrapped
That's
in
what I did
vinyl.
in April. You just put your
picnic table
reflectix
cover.
on the outside.
Yeah, that made a difference. I
It
could
does.
keep it close
It
to
does.
outside temperature, which was still pushing 100 degrees in May. But at least it was close to outside temperature. But without it, it could be like 20 degrees above. So, we're just granddaughters walking around outside the window. They're more interesting than the camera. So, all right. Anyway, Death Valley. Death Valley is pretty much synonymous with heat, but the park has still logged a new temperature high on Thursday, which I guess was 2 days ago. Yeah, I never know what day it is anymore.
Today's Saturday.
Oh, so it's heat wave grips a large part of the country over Labor Day weekend, including Wyoming, which happens every Labor Day weekend pretty much here. It can be moderate, and it can be moderate after almost every Labor Day weekend. I'm not exaggerating. We have a heat wave. We got one again this year. We're in the high 90s for like a week. Tomorrow's supposed to be above 100. The good news is we have a breeze today. But yeah, so it's a large heat wave grips a large part of the country over Labor Day weekend. Death Valley is also searing. Temperatures on Thursday hit 127 Fahrenheit. That's 53 Celsius or centigrade for those of you in other places where basically anywhere but the U.S. While Death Valley has been hotter than 127, this is the hottest recorded temperature in September. So welcome to ring in September with a new record. The temperatures that you hear reported from Death Valley are the air temperature. This is something I just learned. I didn't think about this before. The ground temperature in the desert can be considerably hotter. And we know like asphalt can in the cities and stuff, and I guess it's not surprising if you ever walked in the desert, you know the ground's hot.
Yeah.
But when you hear that 127, that's not the ground temperature. Their hottest recorded ground temperature there, according to Abby Wines, a Death Valley National Park spokeswoman, is above 200 degrees. I think it was like 201 or something.
You
And of
melt
course,
the
that's just
bottom-
radiating up.
You
so
melt
you're
the
like a
bottom
convection
of
of
your
it.
shoes.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Like,
I did that when I was a
You
teenager
got-
once. We were laying asphalt and I melted my shoes.
you melted your shoes.
Literally
Wow.
melted the soles off the shoes. So,
Wow.
well, granddaughter number one strolling around out there, eyeballing us in the trailer because she hears voices. So, have you ever experienced temperatures this high? What is the hottest you've seen? I think my hottest was probably down in the desert. I've seen 105 in South Dakota. I've seen above 100 in Montana and Wyoming. Oh, we had 106 and 108 here last year in Wyoming, last summer. Fortunately, we've only barely hit 100 this year. And I know it was over 100. It's probably 100 and single. I don't know if it hit 110 because that year I was down in Pahrump in May. I was in Amargosa then up into June, mid-June, and I know it was 100 and change because my 5,000 BTU air conditioner in the van was not keeping up.
Not cutting it. Yeah, I can imagine.
It was not keeping up. So
This is the hottest I think I've ever been in anywhere. It's this summer. So.
somebody's been in
I,
Alaska recently for summers,
Oh,
so
I've always been. Yeah.
she's like melting every time it gets above 75.
I know. And of course, up there, yeah, it's rare does it get into the 80s anyways, and you know, yeah. So I'm wearing girl clothes now, so that's a little different for me. Usually I wear boy clothes because you don't have the heat so much in Alaska, and you also have a lot of mosquitoes. So if you're not wearing long sleeves or something, you're getting eaten alive. So yeah. So now I'm wearing girl clothes now.
There's your Alaska news. The upshot for me is with somebody to help me with these programs now, I can take a coffee break because somebody else can talk for a minute. I see Curtis is saying he saw 117 when he was working in Texas.
Oh,
that is
my
just
goodness.
wrong.
Oh.
I mean, that's just wrong.
117
is wrong. Having to work in is really wrong.
Having to work in it's even worse. Yeah. Just.
And Greg is saying chasing rattlers sounds like a new extreme sport. Slightly dangerous though.
Ah.
Yeah, I could do without repeating that. So, in case you guys are wondering, coffee. This is my Wyoming mug from my son gave me. He gave my parents matching mugs, so I drank out of one of them recently. But that's a different story. We'll get to it in a minute. My son and daughter-in-law turned me on to Cafe Bustelo.
Bustelo.
My Spanish is deplorable. There we go. It's espresso ground coffee. If you want to see the other side, it's in English.
No paid thing. We don't get paid for this.
It's cheap. It's like
it's
$4 something
expensive
for this can. But you can get the little foil pouch ones to refill this can, which is what my son and daughter-in-law told me to do, and it's only like $3.50 for the package. So it's like a third of the price of what I was paying for another brand that I won't name. So, anyways, if you're looking to save money on coffee, but this is not like Folgers or Maxwell House. It's espresso ground, and I actually think it tastes pretty good.
Well,
It's Dominican. It's
yeah.
Dominican coffee, and because my daughter-in-law is from her mother's Dominican, her father was Spanish, so, half Dominican. So anyways, yeah, I think that's what it says on there, maybe. It's imported through Miami. So anyway, good stuff. I've been enjoying it. We also I make it also as espresso sometimes. I'll have to show you guys that sometime. But for now, anyway. All right, down coffee break. Speaking of hot water, Phoenix. Hot, period, Phoenix. Residents in the Valley of the Sun are probably accustomed to hot summer temperatures. Matter of fact, amusingly enough, my daughter is in Arizona right now in Tucson, not Phoenix, which is mild by comparison. My daughter's been down to Arizona like 3 times. Every time she goes down there, she goes down in the winter, and I meet her down there. She's down for a dog show. It snows down in Sedona or wherever it was, south of Tucson, in the hill country. It snowed. She's down now. It's 102 and 70-something% humidity because of all the monsoons and all the rivers are swollen. She's not having a good time. So, Phoenix though, which is even worse than Tucson. So people are probably accustomed to hot summer temperatures, but you might be surprised to learn just how hot it is there right now. The extended forecast has many days well above 100, like 108, 110, with overnight lows in the 80s. Some of you who watch this channel already know this, but anyways, here's what I saw in the news I thought was entertaining. As temperatures have soared over the summer in Phoenix, residents are reporting that their cold tap, air quote there, on their water from their kitchen sinks, from the municipal water, is above 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
I know. At that point, you just shut off your water heater and just be thankful, I guess.
No kidding. I read a story. One lady said she draws water for her child for a bath, and has to wait an hour for it to cool down so the kid can take a bath. Another one says she draws a cold water bath and puts ice cubes in it to cool it down for the kids because it's so hot out of the cold water tap.
You just gotta switch them. Yeah.
I've never encountered anything that bad with municipal water. I have seen that at RV parks. If your fresh water hose is outside and the sun's hitting it, especially in, I don't know, the Nevada desert in June, you turn your water on and it's hot. I mean, it's like the first blast. It cools down once you get all the stuff from the hose out. But that first blast is like, it's hot, like it can burn you. So what are you guys? Have you ever experienced anything like this? I've never seen it except for an RV park. You didn't have that problem in Alaska.
I
didn't have that problem in New Hampshire. You didn't have indoor plumbing.
We only had my faucet, and it was just whatever room temperature. It wasn't the tank. So yeah.
There you go. Now you know the rest of the story. All right. one more fun news story for you, travel news. The world's oldest motorhome is up for auction. I got to tell you, I was tempted. I got a travel trailer. We're sitting in it. You can see it. RVs make me nervous because of the maintenance stuff. This was tempting. All right, and I got a picture for you here somewhere. Here we go. Because I'm not using my app, so I can't just show you pictures on the screen. So I got to hold up a picture for you. The world's oldest motorhome. This is over across the pond in the UK, so you got to travel if you want it. Built on a 1914 Ford Model T chassis, will be auctioned in September, which of course is this month. The motorhome was commissioned before World War I by a wealthy British family that apparently owned a chain of department stores. So anyway, if you want to hold my notes, there we go. This is, if I can show this to you, picture the inside has a leather couch in the front. And when I read first leather couch in the front, I thought they meant the front area. They mean the front. Melanie wants me to replace the captain's chairs in the vans with a leather couch like this. What do y'all think?
Well,
We're trying to decide if that would be legal if we took out the captain's chairs and put in a sofa. And we can still have seatbelts, right? They're bolted to the floor and the wall. I think the seatbelts
Oh,
still
okay,
work.
all right. I doubt this one had seatbelts though.
Well, probably not. Probably not.
But I thought it was
There's
pretty
a-
swank. It had some tufted.
Yeah. It's got a Vardo look to it.
Yeah.
Look at that. Is that thing cool? I love it. I mean, and old spoke wheels. I mean, but yeah. Here's one more from the front. I just love this. Anyway, I will try to remember to put links to all these stories in the description afterwards. I forgot to do it beforehand, but I'll try to remember to put them in afterwards. You want to check them out. If I forget, leave me a comment. You're looking for them, leave me a comment and remind me, and I'll get them in there because I do have them saved in my notes. So anyway, motorhome was built on a Model T chassis. Oh, it also had a wood-burning stove and space for 4 people. I don't know if they spaced that like modern ones, but this one was supposed to sleep 6 or 8 or some ridiculous thing in a 21-foot trailer. Yeah. Anyway, the motorhome was built. Oh, my son's got a pop-up. He's selling it this weekend. If you're looking for an older pop-up, my son's selling one. He's also selling a van, so if you're in the market for an older Dodge van, let me know. But anyway, he's got his pop-up. It's supposed to sleep 6, 2 each on the slide-outs, and then 1 on the dinette that makes a new bed. It would be so crazy, but anyways. So this was supposed to sleep 4. And it had a wood-burning stove, which is kind of cool. The motorhome was built on a Model T chassis that was lengthened and strengthened, hopefully better than the way they do stretch limos these days, with a custom RV body built by Dunton of Reading, which apparently was at the time a very well-known caravan company. This was not the first caravan ever made, motorhome ever made. That was apparently around 1910. But this is the oldest surviving one known from 1914. So pretty cool. The historic motorhome is expected to bring between $23,400 and $35,100 at auction. I'm honest, I thought it'd be multiple times that.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm shocked that the expectation is so low. Unless they're just saying that to get people excited and into the bidding. It seems like that should go for a whole lot more than that.
Yeah. I don't know. You know.
She doesn't know.
You got an old
She's
engine.
my expert on these things.
You got the old engine, but sometimes those old engines are all mechanical, so you don't have to worry so much about.
Yeah, there's no computers in it.
Yeah, there's no computers, so they're a little more maybe easier on the upkeep. But
Greg saying it's been consistently hot summer with short breaks for flash floods in central Kentucky.
oh,
Well, that sounds like
you
frying
guys
pan
got
into the fire.
clobbered with the rain.
Victoria's in a black hose shower scalded me one time. Had no idea we get out in Redding, California. I was really shocked with the RV hoses how hot they got laying in the sun. And that was even a white one. It was burning hot. It was really surprising. And it wasn't like it was 130 that day. It was above 100 probably.
Yeah,
but
it's just sitting in
it
the sun.
was shocking how hot it got.
It's insulated somehow.
Yeah.
Keeps in the heat.
Beth is saying, I used to lay 100 feet of hose in the sun in New Hampshire to heat up water to do laundry or else I showering when the power went out.
Oh, that's a good idea.
See, there you go.
That's
You had a
good
cabin,
idea.
you could have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Well, we did do sun showers. I mean,
Yeah, I've done some of them.
You know, you have
in
5
the
gallons,
desert.
you put it in the sun. And,
I had a shower bag for a while in the desert. Drank the bag
it
out.
works.
Then,
Yeah.
I didn't have a shower stall, a tent shower. I just, a shower tent. I just hoped nobody came along. And they didn't. But it would have been their surprise. No photos, sorry guys. Victoria says nice rig. Beth says definitely had to cut it with cold water to prevent scalding with a shower hose thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Pup Camper 58 just popped in to say hello. Well, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for joining for a bit here. Greg said jumped into a pool in Vegas once as I went in as I was in the air, it occurred to me it was odd. No one was in the pool, scalded almost, and as close to running water as I'll ever get.
Wow.
I have not had that bad of an experience. I remember as a kid in Florida jumping into a pool, and it was like, it wasn't that hot, but it was too warm for.
Wow, really?
It was
Oh,
uncomfortably
wow.
warm. It was like
Yeah,
bath water.
yeah.
It was like creepy, like
Yeah.
this isn't like refreshing, But it was, fortunately, it was not hot enough to burn. But I can see that in Vegas or something
Oh, yeah.
when it's really hot and the sun's.
yeah.
I mean, your lows are in the 80s sometimes at night.
Yeah.
That's I can see that
doesn't
where
cool
you
off
so it just
at
wouldn't
all.
get cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to have a
That
chilled
constant
pool
sun.
instead of a heated pool.
Right. Yeah. Shaded.
Run it through a chiller. See, Beth saying the 1914 motorhome was so cool. Pup Camper 58. My white hose gets so hot it's unbelievable. The water's hotter than hot water heater. In Mission, Texas. Okay, so that was what I ran into in Nevada. It was a white one, and it was burning hot. It was.
Yeah.
If it was a black hose, I wouldn't have been so surprised. But
Right.
it just surprised me that being a white
But
hose
even
that
the
it got
white
that
one,
hot. So.
Yeah, you think it
That's
would
interesting.
reflect the heat better. But
You're not talking. I'm drinking coffee and you're not talking.
oh, okay. I thought we were on to the next topic. I was trying to figure out what it was.
Michael saying 1914. Check the Carfax.
Yeah. Right.
All right, so got a couple. That's it for the news. A couple of things on the list to chat about, including our feature story and some travel we've been doing. Coming soon, though. Some of you may remember a while ago, back in the spring, we had I was involved with a off-grid sustainable living bundle. We're doing it again, and the catch is this time there's even more people involved and even more products. It's better than before, still the same price, but way better than before, way more stuff. So that'll be coming soon. Just a heads up if you're interested in something like that. That's coming soon. I'm excited to be able to offer it because it's such a deal. So even more resources than last time. All right, so we got a horse walking by out there now. All right, you never know what you're gonna run into. We're in Wyoming. So the death of picnicking, guys. This is serious. She's not sure she agrees with me. All right, this all started percolating in my mind recently as we were driving in Vermont, and that part's coming up. That's our next thing to talk about. The traveling we were doing. We rode by Molly Stark State Park in the Green Mountains of Vermont, and they had a sign at one of the entrances, Molly Stark State Park, camping and picnicking. And the picnicking thing got me thinking how unusual that was anymore. And it seems to me that picnicking as an American pastime is dying off. Well, what do you all think about the state of picnicking? I'm going to share a few of my thoughts, and then we'll turn it over to my much better half so she can share her perspective on picnicking and the death thereof or otherwise. Well, so we were traveling recently, and we passed a ton, I mean multiple roadside tables in rural America. And if you've never been to some of the west and midwest areas of rural, you get off the interstate, take the back roads, and you'll be cruising along, there'll be a little sign, roadside table. And they literally mean there's a little pull-off, and there's a roadside table, usually with a shelter, not always. And that's it. It's not like a full-blown rest area, it's just a roadside table where you can stop and have a picnic. And so we passed a ton of those during our travels, especially the west and midwest. We also saw many empty picnic tables at roadside rest areas where, the more legit rest areas that almost always have picnic tables in there, where I don't think I saw anybody using any of them. I saw somebody like stretching out and taking a nap on one. But other than that, I didn't see anybody using them. Seems that nobody picnics anymore. And I'm not saying just from this trip. In all my traveling around the last few years, it just seems like you never see anybody using these picnic facilities. I missed a line. So here's my other thought. Picnicking was definitely a thing in the 1970s when I was a kid. You all remember the Yogi Bear cartoons, right? There would not have been Yogi Bear cartoons if Yogi Bear wasn't stealing picnic baskets and lunches, right? I mean, that was like the main point of every episode, as I recall. Maybe I'm missing something, but it's been a few years. But as I recall, that's what. Oh, and I see my mother just hopped on here, so we're gonna come right back to this. Okay, let's see. All right, my mother says they'll stick with her Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Okay, there you go.
I drink that too. That
don't
was
have
not the
Dunkin'
that was not
Donuts
the
out
one I
here.
was gonna not name.
We don't
but-
have any Dunkin' Donuts out here.
And Beth saying when I was stuck in Tucson in May to July 2018, I learned to fill green ginger ale bottles with water an hour and a half in the sun. They measured 135.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's like well beyond what you set your hot water heater at.
Wow.
Unless you want to burn yourself.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's crazy.
that's wild. And my mother is saying Bethany's in the air on her way home from Dominican. I forgot. Yeah, my sister's been in the Dominican Republic with a church group that's been down there. So she's on the air on her way back right now. Maybe she's bringing me back some coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to ask her. So, Mom, since you're on, and speaking of picnicking, in the 1970s, I have these really awesome vintage salt and pepper shakers, picnic salt and pepper shakers from Tupperware. These were my Nini's. My mother ended up with them. She passed them on to me a couple years ago. She said, you live in a van, you have room for these. Even if these are little, you still need salt and pepper if you live in a van. And these are travel safe because they're Rubbermaid. Tupperware, excuse me.
Tupperware. Yeah.
Tupperware, sorry, wrong
Don't
word.
say the
Tupperware.
R word.
Tupperware. Yeah, so Nini probably had to go to a house party
Right.
to get these,
You
I'm
had
guessing.
To sit
So.
through a long spiel of many.
Richard, hello. We were just talking about Phoenix and Tucson and stuff recently. Yeah, you probably can tell. We were talking about people having hot water coming out of their cold water taps and everything. But yeah, old Tupperware. So these are my kind of my pride and joy for traveling. So speaking of picnicking, anyways, I had to do a little show and tell. But there's a thing in the 70s. It seems like somewhere along the way it just kind of lost interest. But we picnic on a regular basis. I mean, we do it all the time. This is like just something we do. We don't think anything of it. It's a normal thing for us to do. We do it here in Wyoming. We're traveling and we stop and eat. And part of that's because Melanie's a much better budget person than I am. And she says, no, we can't eat out. We're going to bring food and we're going to have a picnic wherever we are. And, you know. And if I'll say, well, we don't have food, she'll be like, no, we got food. I got canned clams and canned tuna fish under the seat. Aww. Can't win. Can't get away with anything. All right, we're going to turn it over to her in a second. But anyway, we did a trip. We were in Vermont recently and some other places. We're going to talk about that up next. But while we were doing that, we picnicked multiple times across the U.S. We had picnic places to ourselves. Nobody used them but us. And we picnicked many times around Wyoming this summer as well. And again, there's never any competition. We'll occasionally see somebody parking, going hiking or something. We just don't see anybody picnicking. So it's occurred to me that picnicking must be a dying thing in the U.S. But Melanie, what do you think? And will you all let me know what you think while Melanie's telling us, while she's setting us straight?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, one, cars are pretty comfortable these days. So you have, your drink cups and everything, and you can kind of eat in your car. So the actual, I guess that you have to define picnicking maybe a little bit more, whether you're out on an actual picnic table or you're in your car.
Okay, she's got a good point. If you have
I
a
think
Prius, you have like 16 cup holders,
there's
and you have this camp mode where you just leave the thing turned on, and the engine starts and stops
you
as it
get
needs
air
to, but your air conditioning
conditioning
heat runs by itself. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So
so
maybe you
there's-
don't want to sit out there with the mosquitoes and
So there might be a little
the
more
sun and the wind.
comfort.
All right,
but
okay.
there is
Fair
some-
point.
At the local park where we usually walk, I do see some people every now and then, Actually, they actually have big birthday parties there sometimes with the blow up
That's true.
bouncy,
That's true.
bouncy thing, and it's kind of an outdoor space where, the kids can run wild and
Rent a pavilion
be
for a
safe.
birthday party. Yeah.
yeah.
One of my
yeah.
granddaughters, I think, had a birthday party there
Oh,
once,
really? Oh, okay.
and Deborah had a mini meetup there once.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I don't know. We were questioning whether it was if we don't see as many people, whether that's the fact, or whether it is like when you're older, maybe you do more taking food from home and eating out, and when you're younger, you might be more apt to think of just going to a restaurant or something.
Yeah, I remember you
So-
mentioned in restaurants, it might be
Yeah.
more people going to restaurants these days rather than.
And if you have dietary
Picnicking.
concerns, like I have some dietary concerns, so it's nice to just, you
know what you got.
You know what you got. Yeah, you don't have to like, I don't know what's in this, so it might make me sick, it might not, and yeah, so.
Yeah, good points.
Yeah.
good points. I'm going to check the comments, but if you haven't already, let me know what you guys think. I don't know. I enjoy it.
I do.
It wasn't anything I ever thought of, though. And so I think those are valid points. I'm being a little bit tongue-in-cheek and facetious, but I really don't see many people doing it compared to years past. And I see all these facilities not being used. Maybe here's the really good takeaway. It may be getting too crowded trying to disperse camping, but the picnic grounds are all yours.
There you go. There you go. Every day.
All right. Leslie, hi Robert, so good to see you. Sending Kiwi wishes. Hi Leslie, thanks for joining from way across the pond.
Way.
Leslie's over in New Zealand.
Oh goodness, they're in winter. You must be
Richard's
in
saying for
winter.
sure. Yeah. Oh, Beth's got the clear white ones. So yeah, I have these are
Oh, do you? Yeah.
pink and blue for, I guess blue is pink is pepper, blue is salt, I guess. All right, but anyway, they're fun. It's a fun, you know. I have
Nostalgic.
one duffel bag full of memorabilia, family stuff, and that's what I allow myself, because you gotta be connected to your roots and family and history and these things. Some things are meaningful. So even when I was in the car, I had the one duffel bag. I have a few other items, you know. My mother made these curtains. I have it built to matches. There's some vintage stuff up here. Richard donated these cool vintage cameras for the shelf. License plate from my 1974 VW van in Montana. It's been around for a while. The mic is not vintage. It just looks cool. You know, this one's a classic. Super Bowl champions, New England Patriots. All right. This one's not a classic. That's from 5-gallon bucket production company that made Nomadland, the movie. I was privileged to be on that as an extra. You can see me if you know where to look for me. Otherwise, you won't see me. But I was in the movie, and they gave everybody all the extras, and the staff got hats, which was pretty cool. So anyway, I got a few things, but those are among them, and they're fun.
Right.
Melanie travels much lighter than I do. I keep cutting myself off here, but you think I went from a van to a trailer. So I got so much room. I'm gonna have plenty of room for a studio, and I do have more room than in the van, but it's still challenging trying to fit in, especially if we got two of us here and trying to make everything fit. We fit pretty comfortably most of the time, but trying to film videos is a little more of a challenge. So that's all right. If I cut my head off, you know, it's just the lack of talent or something. I don't know. All right. So we'll see if we have any other comments here. That's what I was doing. Okay. My mother's saying I love that antique motorhome. And yeah, for anybody that didn't see it again, that's the inside. That's the couch, leather couch in the front that Melanie wants me to put one like it in the van. And there's a picture of the side of it. Just a really cool rig. It's being auctioned off in England. It's from 1914, if you're just joining us. So, pretty cool. Let's see. Don't see picnic baskets anymore. Plenty of coolers. That is true. I have not seen a picnic basket in a long time. But I do see people, when I do see people do anything, it's usually with a cooler.
It's a cooler, right.
Yeah, that's a good
right,
point.
Right. They don't have an option.
Yeah. Victoria hasn't been picnicking much lately, but a group of us ladies went in the spring to a local park. Yeah, we have a bunch of parks here that have picnic tables, and
Yeah.
once in a while somebody has a birthday party at them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll see somebody just sitting down taking a break, but you really don't see people picnicking at them very often. But you do sometimes see people eating in their car or something.
Yeah.
So
I think
it's
maybe
interesting.
that's-
It's interesting. Yeah, I guess we're not going to solve all the world's mysteries today. Leslie says they're on their fourth day of spring, so it's looking promising. Oh man, we are, no kidding. Okay, that's interesting. You were asking if they were in winter still, but they're fourth day of spring.
Oh, okay.
over in New
good.
Zealand. So
Oh,
we
good,
are-
Good. So you're warming up.
Wrapping up summer. It's 90s, 100 tomorrow or so, 90s for like a week straight, and then by Friday or so next week, we're supposed to get down into the 70s with 40s at night, and probably we'll go straight from that to winter. That's the way it usually works here, but there's not much of a shoulder season in spring and fall here usually, but sometimes we get one. Greg saying Boyle's gas laws apply to stuff that will expand to fill the container. Van campers.
There you go.
That sounds about right. At least now we have a scientific explanation.
Right,
for it,
right,
at least. All right. Anything else on picnicking? You got any other comments there?
I think that was all I could think
All
of.
right.
that-
She's got a few
that's,
notes. I had to print. I have printed notes. Melanie had me print an extra set for her so she could. Actually, she had it because she's left-handed.
Yeah.
She's got her own notes to make sure I don't mess her up. All right, let me check the comments. Give me a little other. Let's see. Okay. Travel to Massachusetts and upstate New York. That's what we've been up to. Or we're up to. Not for the last week we haven't been. The last week we've been recovering.
Yeah.
So we recently made a trip, anyways, from Wyoming to Massachusetts and upstate New York to see family. I have granddaughter number 5 lives out that way, and I had not seen her in a year and a half. I also have like a brother and a sister and a bunch of other family who I had not seen in a year and a half. My folks live out that way, and I had not seen them for like a year since they were last out here, and they were gonna come out this year, but you know, $5 a gallon gas had them rethinking bringing a monster RV out this direction with that far with that kind of cost. So, yeah. Anyways, we made a trip out to see some family. It was a quick trip. Well, there's a dichotomy here. It's the slowest trip I've ever made, but it still was a quick trip. So, because it was a quick trip, we did not get to see everybody we wanted to see. We did not get to see everybody as long as we would have liked to have seen them, and we did not get to see everything we would have liked to have seen. Because we were basically traveling the better part of a week out, and then we were there for about a week, and a better part of a week traveling back. And we had to be 3 different places in 2 different states when we were there. So, we couldn't get to everything. So that was that. That's reality. All you know what I'm talking about. You do a big trip and it's like you just don't have enough time. It was, however, great to see everybody that we were able to connect with and to see all the things we did get to see. But before we dive into some highlights of our experience, I keep putting that in front of Melanie, which she probably appreciates. She's still getting used to being the whole social media personality thing. Before we dive into our highlights from our experiences, what about you all? Have you taken any big road trips this summer, and what has your experience been? Leslie's saying I've been waking in my unheated van to -2 Celsius a few times, so the sun is so welcome. Yeah, I would.
Wow.
I would guess so. That's man. I mean, now I don't want to, compare notes too strongly, Leslie. But winter up here in Wyoming in February, we had -20 Fahrenheit. We did with -37 Fahrenheit wind chill once, but that was miserable. I would not recommend anybody do that. That was awful.
In Alaska, we can get to -40, which is the same
She's
centigrade
one up
or
me.
Fahrenheit.
She's
so
one
just
up
to let
me.
you know.
Oh,
if you
I
ever
forgot
wanted to
about
know.
that.
At -40, it's the same centigrade or
Well,
Fahrenheit.
that makes
so,
it easy.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that is not fun though, Beth. You're right. So, or Leslie, I'm sorry. That is not fun, Leslie. So, yeah, I'm glad that it started to warm up. I know when it finally started warm. Well,
Yeah.
actually, I gave up on it warming up here, and I just went to Nevada and picked up Melanie, and it was nice and warm down there. But yeah, I was like, I just was so tired of waking up to cold weather and freezing in the evening. I just want some warm weather. So,
Yeah.
all right.
And they got clobbered with a snowstorm up here.
Yeah. My son's out there cleaning out his van. He's trying to sell. So we had all kinds of excitement going on. So, anyways, we left Wyoming in August and went out. And I was supposed to do this trip since springtime, and it was cold and rainy. And then I went to Nevada, got back from that, and then it was gas went through the roof. And I kept saying, well, maybe gas will come out. I didn't think it would. Well, anyways, I had a little bit of a break between major work projects, and gas prices came down like $1 a gallon or something in early August. And I'm like, you know what? This is our window. If we're going to go this year, this is the time to go. And sure, and of course, all the experts saying it's going to go back up for Labor Day. And sure enough, it started going back up right after we got back. So it still cost a fair bit of money. It's definitely more expensive than it would have been last year, but it was a good window to do it. And yeah, okay. We had some highlights. Okay. Traffic and congestion was lighter than expected. You got your own notes? You do have your own notes. Okay. We had anticipated more people on the roads based on our experiences earlier in the summer. Earlier in the summer, I was like, what is going on? We'd go anywhere and stop at a rest area or a gas station, and it was packed. I'd be like, what is going on? This is Wyoming. And this one would be like, well, this isn't bad as summer. I'm like, yeah, but this is Wyoming. It's not usually like this here. she's not from Wyoming. She doesn't understand that it's the
Never-
least populated state in the country. So it's pretty remote. We're not usually crowded in our rest areas and gas stations and stuff. So, anyways, all summer long we were saying, "What is going on? It's so crowded." And during our trip this time, it was actually not as bad as we expected it would be. So I don't know what that's about. If it was just lucky timing, if it was things were slowing down a little because of the fuel prices finally, that whole demand destruction thing that people were cutting back on driving, or you thought maybe some of those kids were going back to school.
Yeah, I was thinking it
getting
was just
people off. Sorry,
school and people.
I just kicked her on accident. We're playing footsies and nobody can see. So that was one upshot, anyways, was the traffic was not as bad as we'd expected. We traveled mostly on secondary roads, which was a lot of fun. And that includes out west. We did not take interstates out here. We didn't get on interstates till we were in the Midwest. We had to, then we got back off them until we had to get back on. Again, we hardly took any toll roads. And we avoided like the big cities like Chicago, like the plague. So, yeah.
It was plenty busy around the cities. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really nice. Anyways, Indiana is closed. Don't bother going there, especially if you're trying to get east to west or west to east. They've just closed the state.
Yeah, east to west. Oh.
I'm not exaggerating very much. Maybe a teeny bit, but not much. 4 times, I think, we ran into state roads that were closed and detours. And then they just quit telling you where the detours go, and you can't find your way around, and you end up on another road and think you're good to go, and then that's closed randomly.
They have
with no
detours
warning.
on their detours.
There was one point we were on one road, we were heading north, and then we were also on a detour for a north road, an east road, and a west road, all at the same time. And then they just quit telling you where to go for those two. So it was awful. So I don't recommend going to Indiana, but I never recommend going to Indiana.
Well, maybe in
No
another
offense
month,
to you if
right?
you're from Indiana, but
Well, they'll
I've
be
not had
done
good
soon,
experiences with
probably.
Indiana roads. So if you live in Indiana, I'd recommend you pitch your state government to fix the roads if you want tourism, because I've not had good experience with Indiana roads, and I don't know anybody that has. So just saying, Indiana's closed. There you go. The weather was reasonably nice throughout 2 weeks while we were traveling, which was also a bonus.
It was
August,
actually.
summer, you're going to the Midwest and Northeast. It was not as hot as we thought it might be for the most part, and the humidity was manageable, so that was nice. We traveled slowly, and I mean the slowest I've ever made this trip. Almost a week getting out there.
I didn't think it was
better
that
part of the
slow,
day.
but
Well,
yeah.
it wasn't by her standards. My standards, I do it in 2 days. So it's the slowest I ever did it for sure. I beat my record from before. We stopped at nearly every roadside historical site and any other interesting place. And
Well,
that means in Wyoming and Nebraska and stuff, we only missed 2, count them 2, roadside historical markers. That's because somebody was sleeping and I want to wake her up, slamming on the brakes. But other than that, we stopped at every single one, which was fun. I never do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We
You get a lot
had
of
some
good
fascinating
things.
discoveries. There are going to be some videos coming
Yeah.
from some of those because they were
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, so stop at your local historical markers. They're just so interesting.
Stop at your local historical group. We have a video coming up from Clearmont, Wyoming.
Yeah.
We stopped
yeah.
there, and Melanie got her arm twisted to donate a quilt for the show they have coming up in March. She was too polite to tell the lady there was no way she was going to be in northern Wyoming in March, but she had more sense than I do. But
Maybe, you never know.
so, another highlight from our trip. Notice there are a lot of interesting things to see across the country, including many that are not Instagram famous and thus are not crowded. So you keep hearing about all the popular tourist sites that are so crowded, and they are. But if you get off the beaten path and go to the places that aren't on Instagram or whatever, honestly, you can find some cool places. We had these places to ourselves. There was one remote spot in, I don't know if we were in Wyoming or Nebraska. We were in the middle of nowhere on Highway 20 anyways. And we pulled over. And as we were pulling back on the road, an elderly gentleman was pulling into the same roadside pullout
Yeah.
as we were leaving. Other than that, we had the place to ourselves for the most part. So,
Yeah.
and we stopped a lot of times.
Yeah.
So you can find places that aren't crowded.
Yeah.
You just got to get away off the beaten path, away from the famous places. We mostly slept in the Prius while on the road, and stayed with family while visiting in Massachusetts and New York. That's just in case you're wondering. We did not bring a tent or anything because there wasn't room for it. We didn't bring a 12-volt fridge because there wasn't room for it. We didn't bring food because there wasn't room for it.
We brought some food. We had a box.
All right,
of
we had
food
one little shoe box
that
of
was,
food, yeah.
Yeah, non-perishables.
Mostly
you know,
Melanie ate out of it, but
Right. I mostly ate out of it. And, yeah.
the time she ate canned clams, I almost had to leave her in the car for a while, though. The aroma was getting a little pungent in such a small space. Anyways, Melanie's Prius is a Model V,
Yeah.
which is a station wagon.
They call it a station wagon, not your typical station wagon that most of us are familiar with.
It's not my 78 LTD
Right.
I had when I
Right.
was a teenager
Yeah.
in
There-
green.
It's
You know, I did not have the wood paneling though, but just
Oh.
green. But it is a station
Right.
wagon, and the back seats fold down almost flat, so I threw a mattress back there, and then at the last minute, Melanie decided to go, and we forgot to throw the other mattress back there, so we had to visit a Walmart in Nebraska to find some sleeping pads to make somewhere for her to sleep. Anyways,
But then you end up sleeping in the front
it's a little challenging getting in and out of the
Chair.
back when you
the
don't
front seat. So,
when you're my age.
but I just
She's a young whippersnapper.
I don't know how he can sleep in the front seat. That's the thing. I'm like, why? How can he sleep that way? But he was just zonked out. So, anyways, good for
It is-
him. I
it
had to
is-
lay down.
I can get in the
I
back.
gotta
It's
lay
not easy, but then if I don't have to explain too many details, I have to get up several times each night. If you know what I'm talking about, and trying to get up several times each night and get in and out of the car was more than I could bear the thought of. So I ended up sleeping in the front seat a few nights. But anyway, so there is barely, but there is room to sleep in the back. But this, with the upshot is it allows you to have AC on those muggy Midwest and Northeast
We did. Yeah.
nights,
Yeah.
and it runs off the battery because it's a hybrid, and the engine just starts every now and again when it needs to keep things charged,
Yeah.
and wakes you up.
Yeah.
Because it kind of shakes the
It
car a
does.
little
It
bit.
does shake the car a little, but yeah.
That was how we traveled anyway. And finally, Melanie noted that eating at convenience stores and travel centers is not as bad as she had anticipated.
It wasn't as bad. Like I said, I kind of stay
This is a
away
pro
from
tip.
a lot of the junk food but yeah, they surprisingly they had some boiled eggs, and they would have some fruit, or they'd have even their hot dogs weren't so bad. Cause I was there was one place, I forgot where it was, but they even had like German sausage, and they were
It
like
was a
really,
Love's, wasn't it?
I don't know, but it was fancy. They had all sorts of different stuff, so I was quite surprised. So I was like, okay, I can do this. So we did, and it was yeah, pretty economical.
So there you go. You can keep it somewhat economical, and you can, within reason, you can eat some healthier things if you're on a diet, or just being conscious of food, like hot dogs, or string cheese, or
Yeah, the string
pickles,
cheese, there's
or
pickles,
hard-boiled
and-
eggs,
yeah.
or nice salads.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it varies from place to place, but
Yeah.
especially the bigger ones,
Yeah.
they seem to have a little better options. So if you're traveling and you need to be careful of that, and you're trying to avoid McDonald's or something, no offense to McDonald's, but you know, if you're trying to avoid those kind of places, there you go. There's your pro tip. All right, see what we're missing here again. Okay, Leslie's saying this Kiwi doesn't get those extremes.
Oh, okay.
That's probably a nice thing right there. I try to avoid them, but sometimes I foolishly put myself in places that are going to be more of an adventure than I need. My mother's saying trying to picnic in South Dakota with the wind cured her of picnicking, and the Tupperware salt and pepper shakers are classic picnic. So yeah, I pretty much given up on cooking in South Dakota rest areas. I learned that the hard way. We did have a jet boil this time I made coffee with, and we still live with, a lot of them will have like concrete barriers or walls, and they'll have several sides or several segments. So we positioned ourselves on the side with a concrete barrier, and I still was glad we had the jet boil. But we'd have been there all day trying to heat up because the wind gets blowing so crazy. Leslie's saying their diesel and gas prices are coming down slowly.
Oh, good.
Yeah, our diesel it's come down a little bit. It's still pretty high here. I'm glad I don't have to buy diesel. Gas is down. It was down, I think, about $1 a gallon or so, maybe. It's creeping back up now, but it's not back up to where it was. My father says hot water from the cold water tap is how I learned how to yodel. If y'all watch any of my videos, that intro where I do the little intro that says my name and everything, and a little van driving with a drone shot of the van, the yodeling in the background, it ain't me. That'd be my dad yodeling for that. And there's a link to his website in the video description if you want to check it out and check out some of his other music.
He's a master
He's
yodeler.
got he's got a bunch. He even sang a song for Melanie that I recorded when we were out there.
Yeah.
That,
Maybe we can share that.
Yeah, I'll have to get that shared one of these days. You don't want me singing it though.
Oh.
Let's see. Okay, Leslie's been off the road. Van repair is done. Rearing to get going again. Got a granddaughter knocking on the door. Hello, number 3.
I hear you.
We're doing a live stream on YouTube. We're doing a live stream on YouTube. Grandma and Grandpa are watching. You want to come say hi? Your cousins leave?
Yes.
Say hi to everybody. There's like 1,000 people watching on YouTube. Okay, oh, we were checking comments. That's right. Let's see. So Leslie's been off the road getting repairs done. Beth saying the coldest I ever got in my years in New Hampshire was minus 56. That is just wrong.
Wow, yeah.
That is just wrong. I think the coldest I've seen is around minus 40, and that was wrong.
That is cool.
Oh, Pat broke her foot and can't wait to get to October to get back on the road. That is no fun. Hope you mend up well and are able to get traveling again soon, Pat. Leslie, my goodness, you have been getting about, haven't you? I've been a little remiss catching up on everyone. Oh, I have a hard time keeping up with everybody on YouTube, and I can't even keep up with myself sometimes. But Greg saying, good to see your smiles. I'm out of here as usual. I enjoy the two of you. Well, thank you, Greg. Hope you and Val are doing well. It's good to see you on here for a bit.
Yeah, thank you.
We were thinking of you guys. We were traveling. We didn't quite get down that far, but we did think of you guys. We were making our way east. Let's see. Beth said, if you stopped at the little tree that the road goes around on I-80 near the eastern border. Well, we missed that. There used to be one of them in upstate New York I tried to show Melanie, and we couldn't find it.
The little what?
Little tree that the road goes around on I-80.
Oh, yeah, you
near
tried
the
to show me
eastern
something.
border. So
Yeah.
there's one on I-80. We missed that. We'll have to be watching for that next time. Cool. Yeah, that's interesting. My mother says all great people are left-handed, Melanie.
Oh, okay, great.
Hmm?
What'd you say?
She's a whisperer.
Put the one away? Oh, the other door all the way. Oh, I guess the door is going back.
Oh, the door's bugging you? The door wasn't shut tight. She was trying to let me know. But I'm hearing impaired, so, you know. Let's see. Victoria saying beef hot dogs at Love's. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, and McCook, Nebraska has a great Walmart. We'll have to remember that one.
Oh, okay.
$3.40 a gallon in Georgia. That I got fuel price there. That's better than
$3.40
what we
That's
saw
pretty good.
on our travels. So you got us beat there in Georgia. My father wants to know if John will deliver the van to the East Coast. Think your dad had delivered the van to the East Coast?
Really?
Did you drive it 2,000 miles?
No.
No?
No.
Lexi says she doesn't think her dad would do that. Lexi doesn't want her dad being gone that long.
No.
She doesn't like when her dad has to go away for work or anything.
He once was away for 3 days.
3
Oh
days?
my goodness. 3
That's a long
days.
time to be
I
gone.
couldn't handle it.
Yeah. It's sad when they go
She
away.
could not handle it when her dad was gone for 3 days for work. That's in case she didn't get that. Okay. Fuel efficiency. Some interesting tidbits from our trip. I mentioned we were driving the Prius, right? The van, I get about 18 on open roads. Coming back up here from Nevada with Melanie following me and keep getting lost behind me, so I was going like 55, 50, sometimes on average. I hit 19 miles a gallon a couple times, which is amazing. But I usually get about 18 on open roads, which is pretty good for a 1-ton cargo van with a V8, roof rack, solar panels, all that. But the Prius, of course, gets a lot better than 18. So we refueled 20 times on the way all the way to Boston and back, and a little bit of sightseeing in the middle. Our total fuel cost for nearly 5,000 miles was $458.18, which is better than I expected because I
Really
budgeted
good.
like 500.
I
I
was
was figuring
surprised.
1,500 in the van. So
Wow.
Big difference. That saved us a lot of money. Can I borrow $450?
No.
Oh, okay.
We probably
tried.
don't even have that much.
You don't have that much?
No.
Ah, I figured you got that much in your piggy bank.
We spend our money every day.
Oh.
Almost.
No retirement
Did
for
you
this
know I
one.
found money under my bed?
Under your bed,
Under
you
your
found money?
bed.
I better look under my bed.
Wow.
The most expensive fuel we found was $4.49.9 per gallon. I saw that a couple times. I think it was. Well, I know one was in New York, in upstate New York. I think the other ones were all in the Northeast or Midwest. That was the most expensive. Although, like Illinois and Indiana were pretty pricey too. So Midwest and Northeast. Ohio, I think, was a little cheaper again. The least expensive fuel, $3.43.9. So $3.43.9, which was a little bit funny. We had a few times we had like $3.50 a gallon, and I'm all excited. And Melanie's like, "That's a little funny that you're excited about $3.50 a gallon gas."
Yeah.
Yes, it is. But when it's over $5 for a while, you know, yeah, perspective, I guess. Our average fuel efficiency, 45.41 miles per gallon in the Prius. That's over almost 5,000 miles. That number is lowered artificially due to running the AC at night, so the engine would kick on and off once in a while. So our lowest mile per gallon on a tank was 38.1, and that happened after running the air conditioning for like 12 hours while we were parked. So that's why I say I pulled it down. Every time in the morning when we'd run the AC the night before, our MPG was lower on the next tank. Our highest MPG was 51.7, and 4 times we were above 50 miles a gallon. So I did notice, for example, that in New York, even though we were not sleeping in the car there, our fuel efficiency dropped off. We were down solidly into the lower 40s. So it is interesting, different fuel blends in different states. Even though we used 87 octane all the way, in different states the blends are a little different, and that can affect fuel efficiency.
I also think the roads are more twisty, so out west you can put it on cruise control.
That is a
and you're
good point.
Just the same, yeah. So
You want to tell them about cruise control?
I
Did you know
learned
when
how
your
to
car has
use
it?
cruise control the first time. I know it's terrible.
You opened that can of
But
worms.
I hadn't used it before, and of course he was using it, so I was trying to figure out how to use it. So anyways, he knew how to get it going, so I got it going. So that was the first time I actually used it. I know that's crazy, but you know.
Crazy, but it's true.
But it's really good on the straight roads,
Yeah.
but you can't do it on the twisty, windy roads.
That
back
could be a
east,
factor.
So, yeah.
That's true. So, yeah. All right, that's all I got. Any other comments you guys got? I ran out of things to. Oh, let's see. Leslie saying her last fill of diesel was New Zealand 219, but it's been best has been so long. Oh, that's a liter. 219 a liter. Okay. I don't know if that's how that compares to US. I remember years ago going to Canada, and you pull into a
have to
gas
do
station, and we were like probably
conversion.
$1.50 a gallon here or something, whatever it was, $1.80, I don't know. It was less than two. She pulled into a gas station in Canada, it'd be like 50 cents, something cents, but it was per liter. And then you're sitting there trying to go, how does that work out?
Right. You got to do a whole conversion thing. I know on mine, at least, I can kind of change certain things to kilometers
okay.
pretty easily.
Well, this was driving an old American
You
car.
drive
Those
yeah.
didn't have the
yeah,
such things.
Yeah.
We also used to go up there though, and it was kind of fun. We go up. We lived in rural Montana, up in the British Columbia and Panhandle of Idaho corner, and we were closer to Kimberly, British Columbia, than we were to Kalispell, Montana. So we go up to Kimberly, to a mall up there, do shopping and stuff, and it's always fun because I go up and with exchange rate and everything, we go to a mall, go to a coffee shop, order a large coffee, give them a $20 bill, U.S. dollars, and they give me back more than $20 in Canadian.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was kind of like, now I know the exchange rate, I actually spent money still, but it always felt like I was getting paid to buy coffee in Canada, which was kind of fun. So. And the kids always love the loonies and toonies.
Yeah,
the
loonies
$1
and
and
toonies,
$2
right,
coins.
yeah.
You like
Yeah.
those too? You got some of them?
What?
You got one? We'll have to find you some if you don't have any, huh? Oh, Beth's saying her friend Rick gets about 56 to 58 in his Prius.
Nice. Yeah, I think if
She
you
gets
have
about
a
90.
the C ones, I think you have the Prius C's. I think
Okay.
they get much more better mileage.
See, I can see hitting that because we were up around 52. We fit 52, and that's with running air conditioning going 65. So slowing down a little more on the cruise, and I can see
Yeah, so
hitting that.
yeah, the smaller ones definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and a little bit lighter
Yeah,
car. Yeah, yours
Yeah.
is the heavier with a.
yeah,
The wagon
yeah.
and
It's got a
everything,
taller
so.
top and stuff. So
Nobody's making me beat myself up. Her dad probably taught her this trick, who certainly
Daddy
learned
did
it from me,
me.
who learned it from my father. My college president used to say, "Styles are learned in families of origin." There's your wisdom for the day. Styles are learned in families of origin.
Got
All right. Richard's got to go. Sorry to run, being called away. Have fun. Till next time. All right. Yeah, we are going to wrap this up. We've been on for, looks like, an hour and a half, and we'll go see what's going on outside here, and might have to do some plumbing over at my daughter's house today. And,
You are not gonna wrap it up because I just got in here.
oh, okay. And we got company, as you all can see. We got the little, what is this?
Koala.
Koala. We got the koala came to visit, and the koala brought a granddaughter with her. So,
Coco.
oh, now we're talking imperial gallons. Oh, boy, I'm getting really confused now.
oh yeah.
All right, I'm getting over my head. All right, well, hope you all have a great Labor Day weekend. We'll be back again for sure next week. We've got a ton of videos recorded. I've seen them on the videos recorded that just have to get edited and posted. So different travel things and scenery things and whatever. And there'll be some other informational stuff coming soon. I got a long list of those. So lots going on. It's September. Sometime between later September and early October, we'll probably be making our way towards the desert. Although
The desert.
Lexi says no, she's not happy about that, but
Not cool.
so lots going on. We got videos to get up here. And thank you everybody for joining. Hope you have a great Labor Day weekend, and even if it's not Labor Day weekend wherever you are, like in New Zealand. I don't know what you guys have going on this weekend, but here in the US, Labor Day weekend anyways. And Leslie's packing to move to a boondocking spot. Perfect. We're looking forward to getting out and doing more of that too. We did one on our trip, right? Other than that, it's mostly like rest areas and parking lots. But we did do one cool boondocking one that I have some fun photos from. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll catch you in the next one. I gotta go attend to a granddaughter here.